It's never too late to change your mind. And just a reminder for those of you who are from First United Church of Christ in Richmond, Michigan, we will not be at our sanctuary this weekend. It's Good Old Days weekend. So we will be worshiping with two other churches. We will be at Trinity Lutheran. So the common thread for this weekend's readings from the 23rd Sunday in Ordinary Time is God gives humans a chance to have a change of heart. When life doesn't go as expected and our plans change, we turn to God, who is unchangeable. He gives us a chance to consider the cost and steward our responsibilities. So, Mike had served as a CPA in a large accounting firm for 20 years. He was comfortable, he was satisfied, and he felt he had a purpose every day. But when the private equity firm came calling, well, the offer looked rather attractive. And the grass was a bit greener. The money would be enough to retire sooner. And he met with the recruiter, and everything sounded really good and positive, everything he always dreamed about. His interview at the firm went so well, and so he resigned from his position at the accounting firm. People wished him well, gave him a nice send-off, and when he arrived at the private equity firm, well, you can bet what happened. Things did not go as planned. Their values were not in alignment with his, and the actual work was much different from what he was promised. And he quickly wanted his old job back. Well, have you been there? The school you transferred to wasn't as good as promised. The new house didn't solve all your problems. The latest job was worse than the one before. And in today's readings, we meet people who have a change of heart. An enslaved person named Onesimus has run away and now wants to return home. And a group of people suddenly change and want to follow Jesus quickly. But he warns them not to be so eager. Jesus prepared us for a time like this in the parable of the sower. There would be the kinds of seed, the kinds of hearts that the seed would fall on. We have to focus on, we love to focus just on the good soil. We hope we are that. They received the word and are immediately ready to follow Jesus. And many people did. But there is another kind of soil that we often meet as we meet with other Christians. We receive the kingdom with enthusiasm, but then reality sets in. Following Jesus can be exhilarating and wonderful, but until the temptations and cares and struggles and the grind kick in. The people are, these are the ones who fail to produce, mature fruit. In Luke 8:14, you heard that. They can hear, but they also have other things in their hearts. They have concerns, for riches and pleasures of life, and they want to keep growing along with their commitment to Christ, but things kind of get in the way. And in so doing, the pleasures become kind of thorns to their walking with the Lord. Maybe we've met them, or perhaps we've been one of them too. We've quickly volunteered to serve on a mission trip only to realize that the cost and the commitment was more than we expected, or we wanted to serve in the soup kitchen, but we couldn't afford the time and the energy. We had other things to do. Jesus knew, and we know, that the church is a place for people just like that. We consider options because we are fickle. Life is full of surprises and twists and turns. We don't always plan, and sometimes runaways return. If Jesus knew this was the way to the kingdom, then why did he do that, and what do we do? It all begins with the little verb in Luke 14:33, to renounce. To renounce is to say farewell, goodbye, to our dependence, identity, and things that, kind of choke out the gospel. In Luke 9, people wanted to be able to go back and say farewell to loved ones who were, holding them back from following Jesus. Jesus warned them not to do that, but to be willing to leave behind these attachments. Jesus wants to be number one in our life. And when Jesus is number one, everything else just falls into place. So now he wants to give us room and time to renounce the thorns that have a change of heart. We learn the humility to admit our mistakes and allow other people to acknowledge their failures. We recalibrate, we study, we discern, and move forward with God's presence. We change our minds about the journey of the kingdom and our journey as a local church. We learn that there are times in our lives, checkpoints along the way, where we must renounce particular possessions, material goods, and temptations. We need some spiritual weed killer to recognize when they are, choking our hearts and preventing us from the kind of life that Jesus offers. The psalmist says that one such point in life is when we number our days. Life appears to be so short, just flying by. We reach a point where we look ahead and gain a picture of what we left behind. We want to eliminate anything that distracts us from that picture. And as Arthur Brooks suggests in Strength to Strength, we recognize that our focus should be on the most recent, important things. Because we are going to die someday. Life will go on without us. And we want to truly live in the time remaining, not just exist, but to live. The same goes on for churches. When people drop out of faith or job is not what it was planned to be, Jesus and the Apostle Paul prepare us to be, the best kind of people who can have a change of heart. We are to welcome back like Onesimus. Imagine that what it would be like if that letter to Philemon was read in church. And what if Onesimus himself is the one reading about his change of heart? It's as if that letter to Philemon from Paul serves as Onesimus's apology and explanation for receiving him back, backed by Paul's guarantee. That's the kind of people we are to become at the local church. We welcome home the lost sheep, the lost coins, the lost sons. We learn to recognize people who've had a change of plan and have considered the cost and decided that life in the Father's house is much more joyous than anything else they could have ever experienced. So can we have a change of heart and mind? Yes, says Jesus, there is a time to consider the cost, to get rid of the cares of the world in our lives, and anything that prevents us from receiving the lost sheep back. We never close our doors on anybody. Everybody is always welcome. That's precisely what happened to Mike. He called up his old firm, and much to his surprise, they had not filled the position, and they wanted him back. There would be some sacrifice. He wouldn't be able to have all the benefits that he already had and the vacation time he once had before, but he did have the job and a place and the people who loved him. To return would be worth it because he finally considered the cost and the change of heart had happened. And the church said, Amen.